your background. You know that?
Welcome back to the After Time podcast. There's sound in the background because my roommate is in class right now.
Tell him to leave class.
I'm in he went to the bathroom, so his door's open. But I'm Albert. Join with me as Joe. How are you doing today? Doing good? How's your Easter weekend?
It was good until, my sister's boyfriends, they came over. And, they set up a little scavenger hunt for them, but they wouldn't let me compete in it. And so, it was a shame. So, I just had to sit on sidelines and was really disappointed. How about
Sounds
you?
like a fraudulent scavenger hunt.
It was in shambles.
Yeah. Mine was pretty good, Got my knee to 100 degrees.
Oh, attaboy.
Yeah. Jumped on, we're doing leg pressing, 90 pounds. It's absolutely gigantic.
Did you were you able to compete in any Easter festivities?
Me and my sister hunted for eggs. Went crazy.
How did you do?
We didn't count them up, so
Well,
they were
surely,
empty.
How
They
were
were
you able
empty.
to
So
how were you able to bend?
I just bend with my right leg.
That shit must have been tough though. If you like go all the way to the ground,
Not really. There's ones up high too.
give a little demonstration.
What? Like
Oh, yeah.
that.
Oh, all right.
Like,
Bro, so the Yankees just submitted their lineup card, and we have Aaron Hicks leading off for us, and
That's
Donaldson
nice.
batting sixth.
that's nice. Has nothing to do with the Australian
I
rules
know,
football.
but we do baseball, and freaking listen. I wanted freaking Aaron Boone to go last season. He's got to go after this season.
All right, I want to say a quick message to our Australian fans. You guys need to relax. You're acting like we're up at 3 a.m.
They're being some a-holes
watching the games. Like, come on. You guys are like, it looks like these guys aren't even watching the games because we can't. There's nowhere to watch them, and it's on at like 3 a.m.
So listen, we only got the stat lines.
Yeah, we got stat lines and highlights. So
and sometimes the stats don't give the story of the match. So calm down.
Yeah, and it's like the highlights too. You see a highlight, that's going to be a player playing good. So if I say like, hey, yo, this guy played good, that might have been his only good play.
For real. Yeah. And plus, bro, this is our first season we've ever watched the AFL. So as we're relearning a whole sport that we didn't even know existed. So
yeah, just
calm down.
All right, let's get into this week's action. Like, it's a pretty good week of action. Some close games, some blowouts.
A lot of blowouts. I feel like a lot more blowouts than
last week was a lot of close games. This week was a bunch of blowouts. We'll start off with a close game. Brisbane versus Collingwood. Brisbane took the dub 98-91. It was a tight game the whole match. Both teams were pretty accurate with kicking the footy. Leachy Neal, it was his 200th game. Had a
Leachy or Lachi?
I don't know.
Oh jeez.
Had major influence and changed the game with 14 of his 33 disposals coming in the second quarter, really helping Brisbane take the dub. Joe Dyler had 4 goals, 1 behind. Danaher. Yeah, Danaher. I can't even read my handwriting. And Jordan DeGoey of Collingwood also had 4 goals and 1 behind. Brisbane bounce back dub after a loss last week to Geelong. They're right back where they needed to be.
Yeah, you really took most of my my speaking points on this one. I've one other stat line. Jack Crisp for Collingwood.
Yeah.
He had 36 disposals and 11 clearances. He did a good job in getting rid of the ball, I guess. But yeah, Collingwood, maybe because last week, I criticized them on them not being able to close down in the fourth quarter. A little bit of improvement, even though it was a loss, but Brisbane is like a powerhouse, so we'll let that slide.
Yeah.
Albert, before you move on, well, you got to type up your stuff. That's what I do. That's what I'm looking at.
Gotta hype it up.
Type it. Type your stuff in like a Word
I don't
document.
got a second monitor right now because I can
Just do
barely
s-
sit. Once
do
I'm
split
at my
screen.
desk, I can get my second monitor. We'll be good.
Just do
Right,
split
right
screen
now, I got the
your
old
computer.
fashioned. Leave in the comments whether you like the old fashioned notes,
Split screen it.
old fashioned notes, or on the
You can't
computer.
read your handwriting.
My handwriting is actually good compared to yours.
Mine's so much better than yours.
That's because when I try, it's nice. But also, I was writing on like a notebook, you know. Yeah.
All right.
North
Yeah.
Melbourne, Western Bulldogs. Western won 139-71. I mean, they fixed their inaccuracies right off the bat. That's the first thing I noticed. Like 13 behinds. That's pretty. As soon as you see that, you're like, oh, they might have been inaccurate. But then you see 21 goals. I think they were fine. Western was all over North Melbourne from start to finish. It felt like North Melbourne just did not know what they were doing defensively. Just kept letting Western in. And Bailey Smith, he had a great game. 2 behinds, 43 disposals, 23 kicks, 20 hitouts, 646 meters gained. And if you were an AFL fantasy owner and you had him, you got 147 fantasy points. Just an absolute class display.
Yeah. Last week I was like, listen, this is a matchup where Western, going against a weaker team, they can kind of play around with what they want to do and see what works. It's kind of similar to basketball in a way where like a guy could be missing his shots the whole entire game. But let's say you foul him, he gets to the foul line and he makes a free throw. And all he has to do is see like the ball get into the basket to see it, like for him to heat up and stuff like that. So this might be like a similar case where maybe we see the Bulldogs become the team that we saw them last year, where they went to the grand finals, but eventually lost to Melbourne. The game was 51-6 after the first quarter. Basically ended the game in a way. North Melbourne, weak attack, weak defense. For the Bulldogs, I have Aaron Naughton and Cody Waitman. Both had 5 goals. So we'll see if they can kind of continue to keep this momentum into next week.
Yes. Then the next game, that was this Easter weekend filled with some footy. What's better than that? Sydney Swans beat the West Coast Eagles, Battle of the Birds, 121-58. Sydney controlled the game from start to finish. 58-point lead at half, 20-2 scoring shots, 39-10 inside 50. Callum Mills and Jake Lloyd had good games. If you're a Sydney Swans fan, this is what you're wanting to see. Back-to-back wins, dominant display against a weak West Coast team. If this is what you wanted.
Yeah, especially with Buddy Franklin out, seeing them be able to continue to push the ball and play some Swans footy without their main man out there. That was important to see. At one point in the game, it was 56-0. So, I mean, just like the last game, it was basically over not before it started, but over before the game was over, I guess. Luke Parker had 26 disposals, 5 clearances, 2 goals. Ruckman Peter Ladham, 25 disposals, 24 hitouts, and a goal. Just a dominant performance from the whole team.
Going on, your St. Kilda Saints picked up another win, 87-61 over the Gold Coast Suns. It was back and forth in the first half before the Saints took control of the game. Jack Higgins with 5 goals, 2 behinds. Max King with 3 goals, 2 behinds. And I have a question for you. We both had St. Kilda not making the finals this season. Does that change after their recent win streak?
100%. I think they look like a team where they can compete this year, which I didn't expect. They beat your Fremantle Dockers, who they also look like someone who could compete for the grand finals, especially with them being one of the best defenses in the league. So I think they can definitely, go up there and fight with the top dogs. Uh, did you know that this season, Albert, standing coaches are undefeated?
That's quite impressive.
It is. Uh, so last week, Gold Coast, when we were breaking down them against Carleton, one thing I know I said was they completely dominated Carleton in the clearances. Their defense was impeccable. And this week, the Saints, they beat them by 17 points in that statistic. I'll give a little love, though, to the Suns. Toke Miller, I've mentioned him for a couple of weeks, part of the impressive Suns young midfield trio. He finished with the game high 32 disposals, 16 contested possessions. And I'll just reiterate what you say, Jack Higgins, 5 goals. Max King continues his hot streak with 3 of them. It's been fun to watch them, fun to see them win. Definitely surprised me.
Yeah.
I'll actually start this game, talking about it because, you've been leading all of them. Let me have some love.
All right.
Let me get the spotlight.
I don't know. Our fans like to bully you a lot.
All right. So this is Adelaide versus Richmond. Adelaide won 101 to 82. Elliot Himmelberg, he continues to impress me. He's only 23 years old. What?
You stuttered. That was funny. Is it hard names to pronounce? Our names.
For real, it's not like the MLB where you have like Soto, Green, freaking Cole. Like these are, I don't want to say weird names, but kind of weird. Unique. There you go. So like I said, Emily Himmelberg, he had 4 goals. Midfielder Ben Keys, he did his job. 31 disposals. For Adelaide, last week, for what I wanted to watch was how having Taylor Walker back in the lineup would, affect this offense. And he was very effective last week. It continues to be effective. And he's been transcending this offense. He had 5 goals, 4 of them in the first quarter, 2 behinds. And Adelaide, so many free fours. They had 33 to Richmond's 13. Take it away, Albert.
Yeah, I agree. It was a generally close game the whole match, but Adelaide just won every single quarter, which that's going to give them the deficit they won by, or lead, whatever it is. But like you said, Taylor Walker, what a performance again. One thing that stood out for me is just not the goals and the behinds, which he had 5 and 2, but he had 16 disposals, 13 kicks, and 516 meters gained. He's working his tail off and still producing in front of the goal, which is important. But bad news if you're an Adelaide fan, captain Rory Sloan ruptured his ACL. He's out for the year. It's not fun at all, as I'm going through that right now. But how big of a loss do you think this is for Adelaide's finals hopes? Because they were a fringe team.
I mean, that's a serious injury. I mean, I'm not entirely sure how long that puts him out. Is he out for the whole year? Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. I mean, this isn't a similar thing to kind of Buddy Franklin, where, you have your captain who, you expect him to come up in the clutch. If you're struggling, you're looking for him to, kind of rally the team. But listen, Taylor Walker, he was the captain before the suspension. So maybe, I don't know, maybe we see him become the standing captain. I don't know if they do that.
Yeah. Might be the vice captain.
Yeah, but
I think there's going to be no drop in leadership, but that's a big loss if you're looking at a team.
For sure. Yeah, to lose your captain like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Going on to Melbourne. They're 5-0 now after a dominant display over Greater Western Sydney, 120 to 53. Bailey Fritsch had 4 goals. Christian Pateka had 2 goals, 1 behind. Petraka had 2 goals, 1 behind, 30 disposals, 18 kicks, 573 meters gained. It was just all Melbourne from start to finish. And I have 2 questions for you. When will Melbourne lose? And then the other one, I'll answer the first one too. But I'll answer the second one too if you want me to. But how underwhelming has Greater Western Sydney have been this year?
Hold up. I'm looking at Melbourne's schedule. I want to see who they're playing.
I'm thinking until June. Their toughest matchup until June is Fremantle. Then you have St. Kilda like 2 weeks after that.
And May 7th, they face St. Kilda.
Yeah.
And then they play West Coast and then North Melbourne, Fremantle.
Thinking June.
Has a team ever gone a season without losing?
I have no idea.
All right, let me look it up.
Let me ask Google.
Has an AFL team
AFL undefeated seasons.
gone undefeated?
The only team to complete an invincible season was 1914 Port Adelaide, where they went 12-0, and then in the finals they won both their games and went 14-0.
Well, I'm not. Is this saying like the whole season? Because like this is saying in 1929, Collingwood went through the full season undefeated, but they lost in the semifinal. I mean, I think there's definitely a great chance that they go through and don't lose a single game this year.
Wow. Hot take.
And then what was the second question? How disappointing?
Second question was how underwhelming Greater Western Sydney has been. The Giants. We both had them making the finals.
Oh, you did your research, eh?
Yeah, I just remember.
Yeah, no, definitely a disappointment. I think this is kind of like a team like Port, where injuries have kind of lowered the bar and expectations. It's like in a sense, yeah, it's disappointing. Like in another sense, it's not disappointing just because I think they've been very load man for most of the season. So I guess that will be my answer.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think they've been extremely underwhelming. Yes, they've had some key injuries like Phil Davis to the big part of their defense, but their quality of play, like week by week, is just not there. 1 week they were up here, but the rest they've been really down low. Just some underwhelming season so far from them.
Yeah, well, actually, before we move on, well, you said that Melbourne dominated from start to finish. I think actually the Giants, even though on the scoreboard, they lost bad in the first quarter, but like overall, I'd say they won that first quarter. They dominated them in clearances 15-3. Contested possessions 46-33. Inside 50s 19-9. Josh Kelly for the Giants. He finished with 33 disposals. It was just they couldn't get past that finish line. 0 goals and 5 behinds in the first quarter.
Yeah, but that's one thing about Melbourne, though. Once you come up against a great team like that, that just shows how good Melbourne is. When you have a team that's struggling or they're pretty elite right now, depending on who it is, Greater Western Sydney, they're struggling. If they're having a hot spell like this where they're just dominating the possession and stuff, how do you like absorb that pressure and then come out on top of that?
Yeah, I mean, they have to be firing on.
So Melbourne played it perfectly.
To beat Melbourne, you have to be a perfect team.
Yeah, you have to have a perfect game right now.
It was just they couldn't finish their goals. Where it was the opposite in the first quarter for the Demons. They got 4 goals, no behinds. And, I really hope I say this right. Bailey, Fritsch,
yep,
and Keziah Pickett. They were not going to relinquish this lead with their fiery attack. Both of them had, I think, more than 3 goals. I think Pickett had 3, and I think Frisch had 4. Yeah. Melbourne scored 10 goals in the third quarter. That's the highest scoring quarter by any team. And they had 12 different goal scorers. So, I mean, it just shows how, they don't just rely on one person, but a whole entire squad.
Yeah, I agree. Now, the closest game of the weekend was Carleton versus Port, 94-91. Another heartbreaker for Port and their fans. They're 0-5 now. Inaccuracies cost them the game. They had 13 goals, 13 behinds. They had a great comeback starting in the third quarter, but that just fell just short. Charlie Curnow had 5 goals and behind. Zach Williams had 582 meters gained for Carleton. Ryan Burton for Port had 554 meters gained. It was just a great game, head to head. And here's another question. We asked, when will Melbourne lose last game? This one, when will Port crack the goose egg in the ladder and get their first win in points on the board?
Oh, geez. Okay.
I think next week against West Coast Eagles.
I got to look at the schedule. Who they play West Coast at
Yeah.
Port Adelaide schedule. That's a shout. That's a good shout next week. So they play West Coast and St. Kilda, and then Western, and then North Melbourne. So they actually have a weak schedule in a sense coming up, and then Essendon another 2 weeks after that. And they're at home against West Coast. Ooh. They might win that game. This is how I think it would go. So, I think that's a toss-up game. St. Kilda, they lose, I think. Western, I think they lose. I'll say Western they'll win, but Port loses. They could beat North Melbourne for sure. So I'll say West Coast beats them, and then wait, let me look at the pick 'em. Who'd I pick? I'll give a little. I think Port will win this next upcoming week.
Okay, so we both agree.
So this is Port's worst start in the club history. 0-5. Carleton, very relaxed in the second half. I think they're kind of like, listen, we ain't going to lose this, and it almost led to their demise. I already have Charlie Kern. I wrote him down, but you already said him.
Yeah.
Last week you asked who was going to step up for Carleton, and Sam Walsh. I have him. I think he really stepped it up. He had 38 touches and 16 first half disposals. A lot of the midfielders kind of stepped up. I mean, they were getting the ball more. So yeah, I guess that's that's all I got.
So you want to start off this next game?
Yeah, sure. Essendon versus Fremantle. I think I need to stop picking Fremantle's opponents just because you like Fremantle. I want to see them lose because they seem to be a very good team. You destroyed in the second half. At one point, you went to 10 unanswered goal run. Matt Tabernier, 7 goals. Pretty insane performance. Take it away.
It was a very close first half, but then Frio just took off in the second half. First half score, it ended 41-38 to the Dockers. In the second half, it was 66-21 in favor of Fremantle. Just dominant display in the second half, just firepower after another. Like you said, Matt Taberner had 7 goals. Andrew Brayshaw with another good performance with 34 disposals, 461 meters gained, picked up a goal in the behind. Nathan O'Driscoll. I keep talking about him every week because he does something special, but another solid performance from him, 480 meters gained. One thing I'd like to say, though, for Mansell is Michael Walters has not been the same player since 2019 when he was all Australian. Each year, he's been on a steady decline since that season. That's worrying. Hopefully,
Who is it?
Michael Walters.
For who?
For Mantle.
Okay.
So each year he's been declining.
Yeah.
Hopefully he turns that around, because if he turns that around, for Mantle just gets that much more scary. But I have 2 questions for you. One with the Bombers. They've conceded 97 or more points in the last 5 in every single game this year, so all 5. Is this something that they can fix quickly, or is this likely to continue and linger on? And then another one was I had Frio in my top 8 at the preseason predictions, and you didn't. Are you jumping on the bandwagon now? Thinking they'll make top 8? I was there from the start.
I think, well, I'll get to that. So first question, Essendon, defensively, I don't think this is something that they can fix instantly. This is probably something that we're going to see the rest of the year. Yeah, it has part to do with tactics, but also has to do with players. And let's be honest, Essendon just the star power just isn't there to stop some of these loaded teams. So I think we continue to see them struggle until at the latest next or earliest next year. And then for the Fremantle question, the only reason I think you put them in their top 8 is because you like Fremantle and you're putting up high expectations for yourself.
I mean, last year they finished 9th, and that's because of their kicking inaccuracies.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll hop on the bandwagon train, I guess, that they'll finish top 8.
Finally can come to your senses.
Well, let me. Do you think St. Kilda finishes top 8? Because you didn't have them in the top 8.
Neither did you.
Yeah, I know.
They're on a good run here. I like to see with Fremantle. Last year, St. Kilda and Fremantle finished like right next to each other.
Yeah, I think you were 9. I think we were 10.
Yeah, St. Kilda looked a little, based off the numbers and what I read, because again, this is our first year watching it. I was a little skeptical. I thought they'd be right on the bubble, but the way they've been playing of late, yes, they make it in. If they will downslide or they don't continue this way, they're not going to make it. But I think right now they'll make it.
Yeah. You guys just have like such a good defense. Like it's actually like insane. Like I think overall, I think it's the second best defense going off of statistics and stuff like that. Where I think for St. Kilda, it's kind of a thing where like we're not great at like defense or offense, but we're really average at it, and it ends up in being wins. You know what I mean? Like exactly. Like, and the game that we played against you, our offense was just better, and we played a good enough defense. You know what I mean?
We're very inaccurate. Let's ask our fans. We got to do a poll on our socials. Fremantle or St. Kilda?
To what, finish higher or?
Yes. Or who do you think's better too?
St. Kilda's better.
The Dockers. I mean, all right. Last game on Easter Monday, we had Hawthorn with a huge shock result over Geelong, 92-80. Hawthorn dominated the first half. Geelong had a very strong third quarter, coming up with a comeback, but it just fell short because Hawthorn retook the lead in the fourth and just held on to it. Dylan Moore had 4 goals in a behind. Tom Mitchell and Jai Newcomb combined had 64 disposals, 33 kicks, 31 hitouts, 1,037 meters gained. My question for you is because
Jesus Christ, so many questions.
They were our favorite. Yeah, you gotta have questions for me. I mean,
I didn't write any questions actually this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
week off. Geelong Geelong was our favorite to win it.
Yeah.
Are they no longer our favorite to win it after seeing them lose to Hawthorn, got bodied by Sydney, and they squeaked out fairly close games against Collingwood and Brisbane? Will these losses come back and haunt them later in the year when they're pushing towards the top of the table?
I thought I got a sneeze, but I couldn't. Imagine like Stephen A did that. Like, bro, I never see that happen to him. That'd be so funny. Yeah. I think the obvious favorite has to be Melbourne. But it's not like Geelong hasn't like put themselves as like one of the favorites still to win it. like I think they definitely still finish top 8,
Yeah.
and they fight for the chance to probably face Melbourne in the grand finals. In a sense, these losses could haunt them. Where is it like normal playoffs, like 8 plays 1, stuff like that? That's what I'm guessing.
I believe so.
It's like these losses could haunt them, where like maybe they face a higher seeded team and they like just barely lose in a sense like that. But yeah,
Yeah, I think with the 2 losses, I think they're still one of the favorites, but I think they drop a tier. I think Melbourne's in their own tier. You have Geelong in the second tier right below them. But the thing that might haunt them is, like you said, if they get 2 or 3 seed instead of 1, or 3 or 4 seed instead of a 1 or a 2, you might be facing a team that's coming off a really hot stretch for the push to the finals, and then they could get knocked out pretty early. But yeah, I think they're still one of the favorites, not the favorite though.
yeah, because like let's be honest, I think Geelong should have won this game. They just collapsed in that last quarter.
Then Hawthorn dominated first half. Geelong only had a good third quarter, and then that's when they took the lead.
Well, yeah, but they had a solid lead going like into that fourth term.
Yeah,
I don't remember how much. It's definitely more than
it was like
10.
10.
10 or 12. Yeah, so at least they had maybe like a 2-goal difference going into it. I don't think they scored at all though in that last. I think it was just behinds. But Tom Hawkins, Tyson Stengel, Jeremy Cameron, all 3 goals. For Hawthorn, Dylan Moore, 4 goals. This young Hawthorn team's really showing me more than I thought they'd produce this year.
Yeah, I agree. They've been a pleasant surprise this year. Maybe next week we'll start with our like a tiers list.
I was just thinking that. I was going to say something.
Yeah. Because what's next week? Round 6. They play what?
Yeah.
22 games in a year. It's about by 22. We'd be 27% done with the season. So yeah. All right. Who do you got for player of the week?
My player of the week is Daniel Rich from Brisbane. He just filled up that stat line. 31 disposals, 6 marks, 9 intercepts, 8 inside 50s, 960 meters gained. Yeah, I mean, he's just a very impressive this week. And a close match against Collingwood, having a guy who could just like go out there and do what needs to be done. And his performance really pushed him across that finish line to beat Collingwood.
Yeah. My player of the week is Jai Newcomb of Hawthorn. 31 disposals, 19 kicks, 12 hitouts, 7 marks, 3 tackles, 653 meters gained. Create a dynamic duo in the midfield with Tom Mitchell. Tom Mitchell had a lot of disposals, but all the hard work was done by Newcomb with the meters gained and the kicks and the hitouts. But big impact guy for the game against Geelong, and one of the key reasons why they won that game. All right, Now we got goal of the week. You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
You can go.
All right, I got Sam Draper of Essendon of the Bombers. I mean, off of the bounce, like the bounce off where they do in the middle. I don't know what's specifically called. Relax, my Aussie friends. Relax. There's quick passes.
I won't put that in the TikTok.
Okay. So Sam Draper of Essendon, off the bounce off, quick passing, back and forth, moving down the field, spin move. Then they pass it to Sam. Hits an absolute cannon shot off his foot from downtown, and it bounces into the goal. It was insane. Who do you got?
I have, Lord help me, Keziah Pickett from Melbourne. He's impressed me the last couple of weeks, and he's just this speedy dude. And he went to kick the ball inside the 50. The defender kind of knocks it away, but he didn't give up on the ball, and he gets that rebound and ends up kicking a goal from just inside the 50. Just like the whole thing, it was just like he didn't give up on the ball, and it was just impressive to I guess it was impressive.
Yeah, sounds impressive. Can't wait to see it. Didn't watch many highlights this week. But all right, round 6 pick 'em. What are our records? Oh, great.
my 2020 senior crown. That's why I got all the stuff there. All right. Well, from the TikToks, we got a lot of likes on it. So I think the viewers want you to bow to me first off.
Did they say in the comments?
Yes.
No, they didn't. Ask.
That's
I'll
what bow.
I'll bow when the season's over.
Bow to your king.
No, it's the middle of season right now.
I have taken another 2-game difference over Nobleman Albert. I am 25-11. Albert is 22-14. So I have a 3-game difference on you.
Oh, that's good.
First matchup. Giants versus St. Kilda. St. Kilda.
St. Kilda.
Western Bulldog. Oh, geez. All right.
Broil Dogs.
Western Bulldogs versus Adelaide. Bulldogs look very good against. Bulldogs look very good against North Melbourne. They figured out their offense. Give me the Bulldogs.
I like the Bulldogs as well. Adelaide, their captain just went down with an ACL rupture. Give me the Bulldogs. I think they figured it out.
Port versus West Coast. Port is coming off their worst start to the season ever. They want the win. Chip on the shoulder. They're at home. Fans want to see it. Give me Port for the first win.
Port.
Fremantle versus Carlton. Carlton's without Patrick Cripps. They played a very close matchup against Port. Fremantle, I think, dominates them defensively, doesn't let them score. Give me Fremantle.
God, give me my Dockers. Come on, keep the ship rolling.
North Melbourne versus Geelong. North Melbourne looks like poop. Give me Geelong.
One thing I'll say about the Kangaroos, this week is not their week. Geelong.
That was so stupid. That was so stupid.
Great suspense, you know.
Gold Coast Suns against Brisbane. Brisbane's a powerhouse. Give me Brisbane.
Brisbane. I had Gold Coast as one of my wooden spoon picks.
Richmond versus Melbourne. I'm not going to keep saying it while I'm picking Melbourne. Give me Melbourne.
Melbourne. I mean, nothing to say.
Hawthorn versus Sydney. Give me Sydney.
I want Hawthorn. I like the way Hawthorn's been playing. Sydney, every so often, they have a very bad game. I think this is another week where they have a very bad game. Give me Hawthorn.
All right. Essendon against Collingwood. Essendon coming off their first win just 2 weeks ago. They're at home, maybe looking for another one. But Collingwood just played a very impressive matchup against Brisbane. Give me Collingwood.
I want Collingwood as well. I'm scared about Essendon's defense, giving up 97 plus each game. And Collingwood, other than like one game, they've been scoring 90 plus. So I'm taking Collingwood.
Man, it's only one. Listen, but you got I gotta start taking some risks. Or you gotta start taking some risks.
You gotta start taking some risks.
But you're losing.
Nah.
I'm taking the favorites. Well, maybe later in the year, it'll be time to start taking risks.
Yeah, you need to start taking risks.
Because we only have a 1 game difference, I guess, for this week.
Yeah. And when I sweep the week, you'll be bound down to me.
Actually,
if you go undefeated in a week, I mean, you should get like some bonus points or something.
Who says you're going to sweep the week?
I did.
I don't think every single matchup that we just picked going up, like from top to bottom, is going to hit. Like I could definitely see Adelaide being the Bulldogs. I could see the Eagles being Port. I could see Carlton being Fremantle.
I can
And
see
that's about it.
Greater Western City being St. Kilda.
Who?
The Giants.
Giant. The Saints eat Giants for breakfast.
You literally said your team was average.
But we're good average. You know what I mean? Like
That,
we're averagely good at. I
that
lost
doesn't
that.
make any sense whatsoever.
Can we get some insight, Albert, for our Thursday podcast? How do you feel about Freddie Freeman hitting a home run against the Braves in his very first at bat against them for his very first home run?
It is what it is. It's baseball. Go again tomorrow. We got Matt Olson batting, or go again tonight and go again tomorrow against them. We got Matt Olson batting like 457 right now. And did you know that the Braves, out of all their home runs, only one was hit with runners on base?
Yeah, y'all stink.
Wait until people get on base and we start hitting them. It's over.
See, the Yankees, they get on base, but they don't hit once people get on base. So we don't score runs, which sucks.
Go
You know what's a
Baltimore.
crazy? Actually, I'll wait to use this stat next week when we do our power rankings, and I have to slam the Yankees. But yeah, stay tuned for Thursday.
Thursday MLB. That wraps it up for AFL today. To our Australian viewers, we're waiting. Hey, AFL, send us out to Australia at some point.
Never been to Australia before.
Yeah, we've never been. We'd like to go pick up some games, interview some players. All right, that does it. See ya.